Imagine awakening not to the gentle songs of sparrows or the distant hum of civilization, but to a sound that reverberates through your very bones, a thunderous boom that shakes the earth beneath your feet, sending tremors through the cave floor where you've spent another sleepless night. This is not the world you know. This is not the earth that humanity was meant to inherit. In this nightmare landscape, where time has folded back upon itself in some cosmic aberration, modern human consciousness finds itself trapped in the Cretaceous period, 65 million years removed from safety, from steel, from fire that can be summoned at will. Your ancestors won't exist for another 60 million years, yet here you stand, flesh and blood and terror, in an epic that belongs to gods of scale and fang. The morning light filters through a canopy so thick and ancient that it seems to swallow the sun itself. These are not the trees of your memory. These are titanic pillars of wood and leaf that stretch upward, like the columns of some primordial cathedral, their bark thick as castle walls, their roots bursting from the earth in twisted networks that could swallow a man whole. The air itself is wrong, thicker, heavier, saturated with moisture and oxygen in concentrations that make every breath feel intoxicating and dangerous all at once. The humidity clings to your skin like a second layer, and every sound carries with unnatural clarity through this soup of prehistoric atmosphere. In the distance, something roars, a sound so deep and powerful that it seems less like a vocalization and more like the earth itself crying out in anguish or rage. You emerge from your shelter, a pathetic crack in a cliff face that you've lined with branches and hope, and immediately your eyes scan the horizon with the desperate intensity of prey that knows it is always being hunted. The landscape before you is a fever dream of greens and browns, of shadows that move with purposes you cannot fathom. A herd of Edmontosaurus passes in the valley below, dozens of them, each one longer than a bus, their duck-billed heads lowering to strip vegetation with the efficiency of living harvesting machines. They move as one organism, and you watch them with a mixture of awe and calculation, wondering if their presence means safety, or if it simply means that something large enough to hunt them is nearby. Your question is answered within minutes. The ground begins to shake with rhythmic precision, boom, 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 a cadence that speaks of immense weight being transferred from foot to foot. The herd freezes as one, their heads lifting in perfect synchronization, nostrils flaring to catch a scent that spells doom in a language older than words. Then they scatter, and the thunder of their flight shakes loose ancient leaves from the canopy above. And then you see it. The Tyrannosaurus rex emerges from between two massive cycads, like a demon stepping through a curtain of flame. It is larger than your mind can properly process, 20 feet tall at the hip, 40 feet from snout to tail, 7 tons of muscle, and hunger wrapped in scales that gleam like burnished armor in the dappled sunlight. Its head alone is the size of a refrigerator, studded with teeth as long as railroad spikes, each one serrated and curved backward to ensure that anything caught in that terrible vise will never, ever escape. The predator moves with shocking speed for something so massive, its powerful legs propelling it forward in ground-eating strides. You press yourself against the cliff face, making yourself as small and insignificant as possible, praying to gods that haven't been invented yet that those amber eyes won't turn in your direction. The Rex focuses on the herd, selecting a juvenile with the cold calculus of a killer that has perfected its art across millions of years of evolution. The chase is brief and brutal. When those jaws close around the young hadrosaur's neck, you hear the crack of vertebrae from your hiding spot half a mile away. The Rex shakes its victim like a terrier with a rat, and blood, hot and red and disturbingly familiar, arcs through the air in a scarlet rainbow before pattering down onto the ferns below. But the land is not your only concern, and as you've learned through weeks of constant vigilance and narrow escapes, death can come from any direction in this merciless epoch. A shadow passes overhead, and your blood runs cold despite the oppressive heat. You've learned to fear the shadows here, learned that darkness moving across the sun often means something far worse than clouds. You look up slowly, dreading what you'll see, and there they are. The Quetzalcoatlus, the largest creatures ever to take flight in Earth's history, their wingspan stretching 40 feet from tip to tip. They are not birds. They are reptiles that have conquered the air through sheer audacious impossibility. One of them descends in a lazy spiral, its neck extended, its narrow jaws filled with needle-like teeth, designed for spearing fish and small prey. You've seen what these creatures can do. Watch them pluck a man-sized dinosaur from the ground and carry it away without apparent effort, rising on thermals with their victim struggling uselessly in their grip. The ocean in this time offers no comfort, no possibility of escape. The water is not refuge. It is simply a different category of nightmare, a liquid realm ruled by creatures that make the terrestrial predators seem almost merciful by comparison. You've ventured to the shore only twice, driven by desperate thirst. Both times, you nearly didn't return. The water beside you simply exploded as a mosasaurus, 50 feet of pure aquatic fury, launched itself partway onto the beach, its massive jaws snapping closed on empty air where you'd been standing a fraction of a second before. These are the apex predators of the ancient ocean, streamlined torpedoes of muscle, with jaws lined with rows of backward-curving teeth designed to grip struggling prey. They can swallow sharks whole, and they do regularly, because the sharks of this era are themselves monstrous things with dead eyes and appetites that can never be satisfied. Every day in this world is a calculation, a desperate algebra of risk and reward. You need water, but water sources attract predators. You need food, but foraging means exposure. You need sleep, but sleep is vulnerability. You've learned to sleep in snatches, never more than an hour at a time, training yourself to wake at the slightest unusual sound. Your senses have become preternaturally acute through necessity. You can identify dinosaur species by their footfalls now, can tell a herbivore from a carnivore by the rhythm of their approach. You've become a shadow in this world, a ghost trying desperately not to disturb the fabric of reality you found yourself trapped within. You move along game trails but never establish a pattern, rotating between 3 different shelters, never staying in one place long enough to leave a scent trail that a determined predator might follow. But the days, as dangerous as they are paradise compared to the nights. When the sun sets in this prehistoric world, it does so with a speed that still catches you off guard, the light draining from the sky in minutes rather than the gradual twilight you remember. And with the darkness comes a transformation, a shift in the very nature of reality itself. The nocturnal predators emerge, creatures adapted for hunting in the darkness, with eyes that reflect what little light penetrates the canopy, with senses that can track you by the sound of your heartbeat. The night is filled with sounds that freeze your blood. The distant bellow of a sauropod, those unimaginable giants whose necks stretch up into the canopy, the shriek of a pterosaur, claiming territory, the sawing call of predators coordinating their hunt. And underneath it all, the constant, omnipresent sound of things dying, the screams of prey animals meeting their end, the sounds of feeding, of bones cracking, of life being violently transferred from one organism to another. You huddle in your shelter weapons clutched in shaking hands, pathetic spears made from sharpened branches, a club you've carved from hardwood, a collection of rocks that might serve as projectiles, but would likely only enrage anything large enough to threaten you. You know these weapons are psychological comfort more than practical defense. What can a sharpened stick do against a creature whose hide is thick as leather, whose bones are dense as iron? But you hold them anyway, because the alternative is to accept complete helplessness, and that acceptance would be a kind of death in itself. And yet, impossibly, there are moments of transcendent beauty in this nightmare realm. You've seen the sun rise over a valley filled with mist, watched as herds of hadrosaurs emerge from the white like ships sailing through clouds. You've watched the great sauropods feeding in the distance, their impossibly long necks swaying with a grace that seems to defy the laws of physics. There is a terrible majesty to this world, a savage grandeur that part of you, the part that isn't paralyzed with constant terror, can appreciate. This is life at its most fundamental, most honest level. There is no pretense here, no civilization to obscure the basic truth that existence is struggle. that every day is a battle won by the vigilant and lost by the careless. As you watch another sunset paint the sky in shades of crimson and gold, as the shadows lengthen and the night hunters begin their prowling, you're haunted by a question that has no answer. How long can you survive here? How long before your luck runs out? Before you make the one mistake that this unforgiving world will not excuse? This world was not made for you. You are a temporal refugee, a ghost haunting an era that should be beyond your reach. Every breath you take is a defiance of natural law. Every sunrise you see is a miracle, and every night that falls is a gauntlet you must run again, a test you must pass again, in a place where the final exam is simply whether you wake up to see the next dawn. This is the age of thunder and teeth, the epoch of giants and nightmares, and you are so very, very small.